Okay, hello everybody. Welcome to YouTube Mommy Meetup. I'm Dana Ryan from danaryan.tv, and we are here at another live hangout, and I'm here with my co-hosts, Amy from Dreamflight 6000 and also Diana from Being Mommy with Style. And we have a very special guest with us tonight. We have Jacqueline, and I'm going to let Jacqueline go ahead and introduce herself and her channel before we get started on the topic tonight. So go ahead, Jacqueline. Go ahead and introduce yourself.
Hi, I'm Jacqueline, and my channel is Mummy Moments, and I have 2 kids. I have a little boy and a little girl.
Okay, perfect. And how long have you been a YouTuber, Jacqueline?
It'll be a year in August.
Okay, all right.
And I love your channel name, Mommy Moments. I love it.
Oh, thank you. It's really cute.
Yep, I know, that's a great channel name. Anytime you have mommy in there, I think that's really awesome too. I'm like, score, yeah. That's so good. So tonight in the Hangout, we're talking about babysitters. So it's a hot topic with mommies because babysitters and our anxiety with babysitters and how we pick babysitters. And we went ahead and asked all of the YouTube Mommy Meetup members if they had any specific questions regarding babysitters that they wanted us to talk about. And they left some questions. So we're going to go through the questions, but before we get started, I want to give a shout out to our YouTube Mommy Meetup Twitter team on Twitter. And if you missed the last Hangout, that is now up. The last podcast episode is now live if you want to listen to that, where we talked about Twitter tips and tricks, but they are tweeting under hashtag YTMM. So if you want to go and tweet there with them, they will be on hand to do that with you. So we'll be trying to check in with Twitter. Diana, actually, do you have Twitter up? Do you want to try to check in on Twitter on and off during the Hangout? Because I left my phone downstairs, so that would be awesome if you could do that. So go ahead and tweet under hashtag YTMM. And you can find out all about the Twitter team at youtubemommy.com/Twitter and also who is on the team. All right, so Amy has the questions tonight. I believe you have the first question ready to go for us. All right.
But we have the crazy Catholic mom who's on time, so congratulations.
All right, there you go. Catholic mom.
And Mama Speaks Geek is here.
All right.
And she has a question too. We'll get to that one. Should we start with that?
Yeah, go ahead and start with that.
Okay, we'll start with it. She said, "Hey, ladies, I love this topic. Our only babysitter at the moment is my mom," which is, I think, typical. "I'd love to hear your tips on finding babysitters. Do you all use family and friends or find a babysitter some other way?"
Okay, that's a good one to start with, just the general, how do you find a babysitter, right? So, Jacqueline, do you want to start us off, and how would you go about finding a babysitter? Or let's say, have you gotten a lot of babysitters for your children?
I haven't. I'm a mom's my babysitter too type of girl. But there is actually in my community where we live, there is like a babysitter, like a local babysitting Facebook group. And a lot of people can meet sitters through that, which is a lot. I know a lot of people in my community find it really helpful.
Well, that's a good tip. I wouldn't even think of looking for a Facebook group.
I wouldn't either.
Oh.
I actually used to babysit children in my home for probably 5 years, and that's how I got actually a lot of my children was through that group.
Smart. Okay. Yeah, that's a good one. How about you, Diana? How do you go about looking for a babysitter?
Oh, it's a little bit of everything for me. So I've never used like care.com or anything like that, although I've thought about it. But our good babysitter that we had over here, she still pops in occasionally. She's off away at college right now. But we found her through my husband's work. So she was the daughter of someone that my husband worked with, so we found her that way. And then in Michigan, my best friend would watch. I just had Bella at the time. She would watch Bella for me. And then occasionally I leave the kids with, like family members too.
Word of mouth kind of is.
Yeah, word of mouth I think is the big thing that I use.
Okay. All right. Amy, how about you? I know you kind of have special circumstances. Do you want to explain that to anybody who isn't familiar with you?
My oldest son has type 1 diabetes, so he needs careful monitoring, and he needs to be given insulin or tested, his blood sugar. So it's kind of impossible to have anybody that knows how to take care of him except my dad. My dad is the only family member out of all of our family members that has learned and knows how to take care of my son. So, but I'm excited to hear about this anyway.
Do you ever split them up? Like, I guess you haven't hired a babysitter at all, but like to kind of like if you were to take Henry somewhere and need a sitter for the younger ones? Yeah.
Yeah, I have not.
Mm-hmm. Well, you could look for a Facebook group.
Yeah.
Okay, well, for me, my primary babysitter is my mom, and my sister will do it as well. And I don't know how I'm sort of like bad with that too, as far as who else I would really ask outside of family. Like I have like trust issues that are hard for me as far as leaving someone that I don't feel necessarily loves the kids, but we did do daycare. We've done, full-time daycare, which essentially is sort of like a sitter. And when we did full-time daycare for 4 years for my oldest, that was actually a tremendous source of potential sitters because her teachers, at the daycare, they're with your child every day. And so I know that they, were interested, and I know some other parents who use the teachers as sitters.
That's nice. That's really nice.
That's one positive, I think, of doing the whole daycare, that choice as far as, if you're going to be working and you're going to use a daycare facility, that's a positive, because then right there at your fingertips you have 10 different girls who might be willing, or boys who might be willing to come sit for your children, and they already have a relationship with you, they have a relationship with your children, and they're most likely in your community. So it's a great source of finding sitters readily. So yeah. All right, and so let's do the first question in Facebook now.
All right, the first one is by Molly's World 525, and she said, "How old was your child when you first left them with a babysitter, and was it with a family member?"
Good question. All right, Diana, when's the first time you left the girls alone without you or your husband?
I'm trying to think. My best friend in Michigan watched Bella when she was a baby, so I just had one at that time. And Bella probably was in the 6, maybe 9 months old range, somewhere in that range, I think. But my best friend over there is literally like family, so it was kind of like leaving, it was like leaving Bella with someone that she knew really well, and, we knew really well, so I didn't worry about that aspect. I was, stressed about leaving her, but, yeah.
You were confident. You weren't worried. Okay.
Yeah.
When we get to me, I was kind of sporadic. But how about you, Jacqueline? Do you remember the first time you left the kids? And you know what, you guys? If it was it with your husband? Like I know sometimes it's like even leaving the kids alone with your husband for the very first time. It's not a sitter, but I feel like that was really stressful in itself. I remember being panicky even about that.
I think that's a little more stressful. 3 kids with my, leaving my husband with 3 kids versus both my parents with 2, or that's almost harder.
I used to have to write out schedules for my husband, write down what time, everything. And I didn't leave her with him that often, but just to make sure he remembered to feed her.
Remembered to feed her. All right, Jacqueline, go ahead. Do you remember the first time? It was with your mom?
I think, it was definitely with my mom, but I'm not positive on the age. I think it was around a couple months, that range. And it was probably just something quick, like running out to do something.
Yeah.
I didn't leave a lot at the beginning.
Yeah, I was psychotic. I was calling repeatedly, and we weren't gone that long. I remember being really, really stressed out and so nervous because it was, our first, and she was only a couple months old, and it was with my mom. But I remember I had the laundry list of things, the whole list. Here's all the pumped milk. Here's the bottles. This is the warmer. You have to put it in here for this amount of time. And I remember being really stressed out about it. And yeah, I think it's hard that first time. It's kind of good to do it for a short amount of time and then sort of ease into it. Did we answer that question? Did I remember? Was that yes?
How old were your children when
How
you first?
old? Okay, yeah.
You know what? I just realized I actually had to leave Bella when she was just a few weeks old.
No way.
With my because I had her on May 21st, and I had to be back at recital at the beginning of June. And that was super stressful because it was for for hours. And you bringing up the pump milk and all that made me remember that. It was stressful. And it's she was only a few weeks old. That was really stressful. I've mentally blocked it. So, yeah.
I think it's really hard for the parents who have to leave their babies in the NICU. You know, when after the 3 days and the 3-day stay, then you have to go and leave them there. And that's essentially kind of with a caretaker, you know, in the NICU.
Yeah.
It's medical professionals, but you know, you're entrusting the care of your child with them, and that's really hard. You know, really early on, a 3-day-old baby that you're leaving, and that can be really difficult. My sister went through that with her daughter because she was in the NICU for 3 months, so we had to, you know, kind of, you know, help her, support her through that. And she was really spiritual, so she kind of, you know, she was so strong. I don't know how she was really solid throughout it, but I was probably more of a basket case than she was. But so yeah, I see some comments popping up. You want to highlight those, Amy? Do you see them?
Mine all pop up and then they disappear right away.
Okay. All right. I see Being Jenny Marie is here. She says, "Hey, mamas. It feels like it has been forever."
Yeah, hey, Jenny.
We were saying that too, Jenny, in the beginning. Yeah. We were saying it seems like it's been a long time. I was like, we were just here 2 weeks ago, but before that it was like a 3-week break in there. And I think because the springtime, at least in the United States, everybody's like out and doing stuff, and it's been, you know, like the weather kind of has me Twitter-pated. All right. That crazy Catholic mom says, "My husband is so," I think she means calm, even though it says clam. Do you mean clam? It says, "My husband is so calm. He's the second oldest of 15 kids."
Oh my gosh.
This better than I do. Oh my goodness.
Wow, you would be calm after living with that many kids.
That's a lot. That's a big family.
Yes, it is. I know. They could have had a reality TV show back in the day. Okay, and Loving Silly Girl says, "I just found 3 babysitters, all sisters. It has been 5 years waiting for a babysitter. Lucky for me, my husband heard about these 3 sisters from a woman at work, and they are a godsend." So,
nice.
Yeah.
That's so good.
That's
awesome because, like, if one's busy, there you have other options. That's the problem if you just have one person.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yep, and then let's see. That crazy Catholic mom also says, "We used Care.com for a few years." Yeah, I've never. Did anybody use Care.com ever? I've never actually used it. I've heard a lot of people who do though, and leave a comment. Let us know how that experience was if you've used Care.com. Like, was it a positive one or not? Leave a comment if you can. And Finding My Mommy Way has a, oh, that's a question. Okay, has anyone been a part of a babysitting co-op? No, I don't even know how that would work, a babysitting co-op.
They kind of have it here, and we both live in Illinois. Hi, Sarah. Yeah, I know what she's talking about. It's like where you share a babysitter, and like you can do it a couple different ways. Like you can either kind of drop all the kids off at one place and then the mommies disperse, or like the babysitter can rotate between houses like on every Friday. So there's a couple different ways you can do it.
That sounds sketchy. Everyone drops the babies off in one spot and then the mommies run away.
And then run.
Kids, play together, kids.
It's like a couple of moms that you know really well, you know, and like, you know.
Let the 5-year-olds take charge.
Right.
Yeah.
There are
It's
7.
popular in the city. Like I have a couple friends that are in Chicago that do that. So it's popular in the city.
Yeah. Okay. All right. And Meg from Smarty and Stevio says, "Hello, lovely ladies." So lots of people in the comments. Thank you guys so much for all being here. Okay, so let's move on to the next. Is there any just let me know if there's any Twitter tweets that you want to highlight. So let me know, Diana. And go ahead with the next question, Amy.
All right. This is from Mom Adventures. Oh, no, I skipped one. Sorry. One up. That's next. This is from Kendi74. Do you drop your children off at the babysitters, or do you have them come to your house? Good question. I'd like to know this too.
Mm-hmm.
So what do you do?
Mine always come to my house. All my sitters have always come into my home.
So you don't drop if you're going somewhere, you don't drop your kids off at your mom's house? She comes over.
Almost always she comes over to our house. It just our sitter, even my sister who caretakes during the day, she's at our house. And I guess because it's always, we have 4 kids, so it's like everything that we everything for the kids is always in our house, and so it's actually easier for them to just come to our house because then everything is here. And right now, because the kids are so little, it's actually really tough for us to go anywhere with the kids. I'm like hesitant to leave the house ever because it just seems like such a huge amount of effort and work to get out the door and go places. But that's what we do. How about you, Jacqueline? Do you take the kids out or leave them at your house?
It's about like 50-50, I would say, because it's usually just my mom. So it just depends on the day, I guess, or where we're going. But they like going over there for a change of scenery sometimes. But yeah, it's usually 50-50. But I think if I was to hire a babysitter to come like watch my kids, it would definitely be in my house. I would just feel more comfortable with that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. How about you, Diana?
Yes, always here unless it's out like at a group thing that we go to at the Y, like they have Parents' Day and Parents' Night Out. So for that, we take them there. But for babysitters, they've always come to our house.
Okay. Is that a separate question later? Because I really want to talk about that with the Y, Diana, and how you leave them there. Because I've never done that, but I know a lot of people do, so I want to talk about that. Is that a question later, Amy? Is that one of the ones we thought?
It isn't. No.
Okay.
No.
Yeah. So.
Yeah. You can talk about it now.
Did you feel nervous doing that? Like, I'm so scared to leave them. Like, were they upset also? Like, did they cry when you left them in the Y?
They don't, but the backstory is we've gone to that Y for 2 years. So we know all the daycare workers, we know all the workers, we know all the front desk people, we walk in, they're like, hey. So we're really comfortable there. This is where we go to for working out and kids classes, some of them, and so we're in and out of there a lot. So the workers recognize the kids feel like they know them, and we just call it kids party. So we tell the kids, you're going to go to your kids party tonight. So they think it's something for them, They don't realize it's mom and dad are getting to go watch a movie. They think that they're going to go to like this, party, and they just have fun. They love it. They ask to go to it.
Wow. So, well, if it's been 2 years, did they start like really like in diapers there and before they realized it?
I go to the gym there, so that's where I work out and do classes and stuff. So when I first started dropping off Natalie, she did cry, and that was tough. She was a crier, and honestly, that went on for a while. But they were great. I mean, they would do what it took to calm her down, and say, go to class. You're gonna miss your class. But after a long while, she eventually, settled in and was. She had other issues with her ears going on, obviously, too. But, after a while doing it, both were comfortable. They just run right in, and they know everyone and are comfortable with it.
Do they give you a beeper or something when you're working out, or would they page you if there was a problem?
If there is any sort of problem, like one time, I can't remember which one it was, one of them fell, and they got like a little cut or something, and they were bleeding, and so they have to call you at that point. They have like speakers where they page you, and if you don't come, if like sometimes in Zumba it's really, really loud and you can't hear if you're being paged, they come get you. They just they know where you're at because they know where everyone is at in the building, so they just come get you and tell you need to go up there.
Well, since you're talking about that, I just realized that we do take the kids to Sunday school at church on Sundays, and so that was actually a really tough transition for me, sort of the same, like you were saying, but we took them to the nursery at the church starting when they were like 6 months old, and those, that's kind of like a sitter, and so for like 6 months, kind of like it was kind of like we would transition them. Like one Sunday I would sit in there with them, and the next Sunday Jim would, and then like we'd leave them a little bit, and then we'd come back to try to like get them like slowly acclimated to the Sunday school classroom and the women that were working in there, and then eventually they are just fine. Like they think it's fun now. Like they do all go to Sunday school and they go in there like run in, and then we go to it's kind of like a date for me and Jim to go into church service because we get to sit by ourselves and like hold each other's hand, and it's really like I'm like this is like that's as good as it gets for us right now. But they all run into Sunday school and they like it because they've been, like you just said, Diana, like they've been doing it now for a while and they're comfortable with the surrounding, and but we took a long time like trying to slowly transition them into it so that because they cried, and it's so heartbreaking for me when the kids are crying.
It is heartbreaking. And so I would have never done the parents' night out, like actually leaving the facility when we were in that stage where Natalie was like, I'd hand her over and she'd immediately start just screaming. I was always in the building when she was in that stage, so if they couldn't calm her down, they could come get me. I think that only happened like once. But yeah, I mean, I didn't do the parents' night out till they were much, much older.
I get worried because like at Sunday school sometimes and some of those environments like I feel like they don't come get you if your kid is screaming like the entire 40 minutes because
They
they're
don't.
scared that you're going to be mad or something. And I say to them, I say, please come get me if they're
Yeah.
crying for more than like 15, 20 minutes and you can't settle them down. I really want you to come get me. But
Yeah.
I sometimes like, and when I would just go back on my own after 20 minutes, they might be crying still, and they're like, "Oh, we were trying." They look guilty. They're like, "We were, everything's gonna be fine. We were just trying." They were calming down, and I was like, I get kind of upset with that. I'm like, "Come get me," but a lot of times I get scared because like they won't come get you because they feel like maybe it's a failure on their part or something. They couldn't get your kid to calm down, so I kind of kept going back and checking in, in the beginning until I felt confident that they were going to be all right. So. I wish they would call you when they, especially when I specifically ask, please come get me if they're still crying.
Because you don't want them like they're crying the whole time while you're off.
Yeah, because I also don't want it to be like traumatizing for them where they won't settle into it. I don't want it to be a traumatizing experience.
Don't make me go to church and they're
going
to cry.
Right?
I don't want to go to
that's
church.
That's what I was worried about. Like I didn't want them to be like having like hyperventilating every time we went to church. So I'd rather just like have one of us sit with them in the Sunday school until they felt comfortable. And that takes longer and it's a little bit more work, but I think it was worth it for us. I felt better about that, doing it that way. But some children, maybe they handle that fine and they're okay and they really do cry for just 2 minutes and then they're done. You know what I mean? So, yeah.
Like, it all comes down to the child because, like, Bella, she literally never has cried ever when I've dropped her off at anything. Like, she just runs in and she goes. Natalie is a different personality and she had a lot of different issues going on when she was younger and before we really knew what was going on. So, it was just the two different personalities in two different situations for sure. But they were so good, like, because if she would be crying, they would try, like, everything. Like, they went so far as, like, to turn the lights off in the classroom because they thought that the lights were agitating her.
Wow.
And that, like, affects all the other kids,
Yeah.
So, yeah.
That's kind of scary. Lights out.
Lights out, everyone.
That's a way to quiet them down for a second, though. They probably were all, like, stunned into silence.
Right? It like calmed all the kids down. That was when she was real hypersensitive, like when her ears were really bad and she was hypersensitive to all senses, like, lights were too bright. So it worked. But
this is just a side story, but at the daycare once, when little D came home, she had this huge fear of flies. Every time we saw a fly, she was like, ah, and she started running away from the fly. I was like, why are you so scared of flies? It's not going to hurt you. And then it comes that I was talking to one of the teachers later, and she said that they were one day, like I guess the director was running around with a fly swatter, like swatting the flies that were in the daycare, and all the children were screaming and running around from these flies. And I was like, okay, like that kind of traumatized the kid. Like she was like terrified of flies because the teacher was running around smacking them with the fly swatter.
That's all she's going to remember about daycare. Remember the fly swatting day. Like that's what's going to stay in her memory.
Innocent. It's innocent on their part. They're just trying to get the flies, but all the kids screaming, and she was like, ah, the flies. It was like they were deadly or something.
We have 4 more questions.
All right, go ahead, Amy. Sorry. Go ahead.
Okay. Crystal from Mom Adventure, she said, no idea if you can answer this, but how do you go about finding a patient, reliable babysitter for a child with special needs?
I'd say that's an Amy. Amy?
Me?
Yes. How would you find something for Henry? I think you were talking about this before the hangout a little bit about the nurse at school. Like,
I don't know. I know his nurse really well, and I would love to ask her if she could, possibly babysit for us, but I feel like that's a lot to ask for somebody because we have 3 kids. But I don't know. A friend, maybe just if you have a really good friend that knows your child and what they need and their if their sensory needs or whatever it is, that might be the best option.
I know that whenever we found our babysitter, who we love, and she's great with the girls, and she is patient, Natalie was kind of in the middle of the whole sensory thing where they were trying to figure out what was going on. They hadn't figured out that it was a problem with their ears yet. So she would just, all of a sudden start crying, and you wouldn't know what to do. You couldn't calm her down. And so I had to explain all this to our babysitter, and, she was accepting of it, and I had her come over a couple times when I was there. and just watched her interact with the kids. And one of the times she came over and she played with them, and I went off to do something else, just to kind of gauge like if there was that connection and how it went. So I think that kind of helps if you do like kind of that trial run when you're there, and it helps them be more comfortable with it, and you be comfortable as well.
Really good idea.
Yeah, I definitely recommend it because it eased my mind too, because I knew she could handle them.
All right.
Okay, go ahead.
Ready?
Yep.
I'm trying to get through all these questions.
Sorry, go ahead.
All right. Inked Mommy 252 said, when it comes to a babysitter, we have to agree it takes a lot to trust someone. How do you make the decision knowing that they are the right people to leave your child with, especially with all these crazy stories involving abusive babysitters? Yeah. So kind of what we talked about, I think. You get to know them and have them.
Listen, you got to get that nanny cam hidden in the teddy bear.
Oh, that reminds me. My friend, she nannies, and she walked in one day, and there was the cameras everywhere. And they didn't say anything to her. She actually mentioned something to them, and they did say, "Yeah, we have cameras now." But it changes, how you feel. Did
she say it? Did she say it changed how she treated the children, knowing that she was being filmed?
She just felt really awkward because you can hear her through it too and everything, and she just felt like, what if I have to itch my nose or I have a wedgie or something? That's what she was worried about.
Yeah.
But
as a nanny, I'd be scared. That'd be a little creepy. Like, what are they doing with that video of me?
Yeah.
I don't know. I'd be creeped out by that. But
yeah.
But as a parent, I know with the daycare experience, like some daycares have the nanny cam where when you're at the office, you can switch it on at any time on the internet and see the nanny cam going at the daycare and see what they're doing.
I think that's amazing. I think that's really nice.
Me too. Like, I really like that. Like, I think that's amazing. So I kind of, just because from the perspective of missing your children, you get to see them and see what they're doing, and kind of gives you that.
I think makes the employees or the people caring for your children be better than they maybe would be. Maybe not on their phone and texting or, they know the cameras are on. And
right. Yeah. I know. Yeah. So I don't know. How do you know for sure? It's like you really don't, other than to really, try to be really attuned to your children and paying attention to them and seeing if they have any changes in their behavior, and make sure you're communicating really well with them, about making sure they realize they can talk to you about anything, and
and trusting your own gut. If someone comes in, like I just got a great vibe when I met our babysitter. It felt great.
Yeah.
I felt like we knew her. So.
Yeah. But even then, it's like, mass murderers are people that people think that they really are great people.
I know.
Not that they're not. You know what I mean? I'm just saying it's really hard because, people who do commit crimes, people say, he was a great guy next door, or she was, and never would have expected that. So it's hard sometimes, but try to trust your gut. But sometimes it is a leap of faith, and the only thing you can do, like I said, is try to pay attention to any cues you get from your children that something is off, because you can kind of tell with your kids when they start acting differently. Or get that nanny cam, I don't know, like once in a while, turn it on, and hidden camera. We all have cameras as YouTubers, right? So
your YouTube cameras all over the place.
Just say, oops, I forgot to turn it off this morning when I was vlogging. Left it on the mantle all day.
And they're going to be like, vlogging? What?
Right. I know. Didn't you know I have you up on YouTube? No.
It's great on YouTube.
All right. Okay, Amy.
Oh my gosh, that's funny. I was thinking of that new, what is it, Periscope or whatever.
Right?
Oh, yep. Make them live. Oh my goodness.
All right, this is a good one from Victoria Pottle. She said, what do you expect a sitter to do when it comes to cleaning? I find my main babysitter, she's 16, is awesome with the kids but doesn't tidy up. I'm not expecting her to mop or do the laundry or anything, but picking up toys would be nice. And then the second part of the question is the obvious question, how much do you charge for the babysitters? How much do you charge? Or do they charge? Yeah.
Okay.
Good question.
Yeah, good question.
I don't want to answer. I'm going to get myself in hot water if my sister watches this.
One, skip this one.
She watches every hangout.
Hi, Dana's sister.
All right. What would you do about that, the cleaning? I don't know.
For our babysitter, I understand what she's saying because I kind of thought the same thing. Like, I'm not expecting her to do dishes or vacuum or anything like that. But I kind of thought, like, the toys be put back up, and the first couple times they came back, it's like, explosion of toys. But then after I got to thinking about it, she doesn't really know where anything goes. So I kind of just started letting it slide. As long as it's not like toys are starting to go into like other areas of the house where they're not supposed to be, then I'd probably say something. But I don't know that it's necessarily reasonable for me to expect her to have everything or get them to put everything back because sometimes it just doesn't work out that way.
And maybe you just need to tell them, if you, when you're done playing with this toy, could you put it away? Because they may have no idea if they've never, they just don't know how things work around your house.
Exactly. That's what I chalked it up to is like, she doesn't know that we make them put away toys at XYZ time, and all that kind of stuff. So.
But and then I don't know. If they're playing, it obviously shows they're doing a good job playing if they got all the toys out and they're playing.
Yeah, that's
playing with your kids.
That's my philosophy. Like, what do I care more about? Like that the kids are being, well cared for and they're having fun, or that my house is neat and tidy. And would I want my sitter to be spending all day cleaning the whole house and ignoring the kids? No,
right.
I wouldn't want. I'd prefer them. Right. The kids to be engaged and then the house to kind of be let go.
At the same time, picking up the toys that's a good if you have somebody every single day.
Yeah.
I think that's good for them too to learn. You got to pick up after you.
Yeah, to incorporate it into the learning for the children.
Yeah, yeah. So it's
Yeah. I don't know. What do you think, Jacqueline, about cleaning up for sitters?
I think if you come home and the kids are still awake, and I wouldn't expect like stuff like the toys and stuff like that to be picked up, but if I come home and the kids have been asleep for hours and the toys are still like laying everywhere, like I think they can put a little bit of effort into at least like shoving them in a corner or something, like just to show that maybe they try. Yeah, but I wouldn't expect like laundry or dishes or anything like that, like no. But I think just any mess that was not there when you left should be put away.
Yeah.
I would love to hire, since I can't have a babysitter, I would love to hire somebody to do my laundry.
So you
and charge, what do you charge? What do you pay them?
Yeah, what do you pay the sitters? Yeah, I don't know. I mean, obviously this varies so much, whether you have a nanny,
and how old they are and experience and stuff.
Yeah.
But like for Victoria, she asked, and she said her sitter is 16. So, just to answer Victoria's question, what do you charge a 16-year-old?
I don't know.
Around where I live, it's $8 to $10.
I was gonna say $10 an hour for a 16-year-old. If they're just I don't know. What would you say, Diana? Do you have any idea what you would give a 16-year-old for a couple hours at night?
It's probably closer to 15.
Okay.
Well, I don't know about a 16-year-old. I've never had a 16-year-old, but 10 to 15 maybe.
Jacqueline, any idea?
I would say probably around 10 is the going rate, kind of where I am.
And that's where Victoria, she's in Canada too, so.
Yeah. Okay, that's good for her. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I'd say $10.
Yeah, that's a good. That's a good starting point, Victoria.
Yeah. She's 3, so I don't know if that matters.
Yeah. Okay, it looks like I wanted to highlight this. Do you see this? This is from Finding My Mommy Way, again. Says, I cannot suggest interviewing the babysitter enough. I was looking for certain qualities, characteristics, and a connection with the sitter. We did a few dry runs while I was home and could see how things went. Then we did the real deal, and it is also a plus that our home has security cameras all over, which we always told candidates during the interview process.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's good.
If you've got cameras that aren't like the teddy bear cams, I think you got to tell them. My husband wanted to do that, like cameras in every single room, every single room, and I was like, I don't think I can live that way. I don't know that I can do every single room of the house. I don't know. So
no, I couldn't do that.
Yeah.
Yeah. And Jendi from Jendi's Journal, she says, mine went to the nursery all the time too, but I knew all the workers, their families, where they lived, and more, and that wasn't hard.
You knew their mothers, uncles, sons, sister. That's like
yes. Yeah.
That's like where I grew up.
Mm-hmm.
And me too. That's like where I grew up.
All right, and let's see here. There's so many. I'm trying to get through the comments. And Southern Mom says, our only sitter has been my mom and my mother-in-law. I have 3 kids, and the oldest is 7. And it looks like AJ Stewart is here for the first time. Thank you so much for joining us, catching you live tonight for the first time. And male versus female babysitters, asking a question about that. I don't know. It's mostly female babysitters that I know. If I had a close family member that was a guy, or if there was someone at the daycare that we knew well who was one of the teachers there, then I would be fine with it. I think it has more to do with knowing them, But if you were just interviewing, on care.com or something, I don't know. I think I would be I don't know about that. How would you guys feel about a male sitter from care.com? Would it make any difference, or? I don't know.
It would to me, but I have 2 girls.
Yeah, I think, yeah.
And for me, I think that'd be really neat to have a male sitter.
Yeah, like if you had like a 16-year-old, like someone in the neighborhood. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
But recently, there was not that long ago on the news, they were talking about there's more and more boys that are babysitting now. And I think they were talking about that they're just as good, or if not better. So I remember it being a good thing. So maybe
like they could play sports out back or something. Not that girls can't do that too, but yeah, they can. If you have boys, maybe they want to, they might enjoy that, being outside with someone they could look up to.
I just think of my boys growing up. Like that'd be awesome if they were babysitters. I think that's wonderful.
Yeah.
There are some nice boys out there.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Of course, because
I'm very annoyed about that kind of stuff. Like even like doctors,
oh yeah,
girl doctors and everything. So
we have a male doctor just because my boy, boy.
Amy, your boys can babysit my girls anytime. Okay. When Henry gets a little, I know he's very responsible already.
He is. Like seriously, he could come babysit my 2 now.
Oh, he could do the co-op. We'll drop them all off right now with Henry.
Right. Funny.
Oh, when we do the conference in Chicago, Henry's not coming though, but drop all
Charlie
the kids. He could man up the kids zone at the conference.
I hope there's other kids there.
Demonstrate the co-op.
I think there's other kids coming.
Yeah, to the YouTube Mom Conference.
I need someone to play with Charlie.
Mine might be coming now because we're going to be driving.
Oh yeah, yeah, that's right. That's crazy.
I know. Have the conference in Chicago. I'm not going to live there.
Sorry, guys. I'm in Michigan now.
That's all right. It's right down the road. It's just
okay, I need to answer this last question before it drives me crazy.
Okay.
All right, go ahead.
Okay. Phoebe's World said, have any of you hired a teenage babysitter from your neighborhood? What do you think about it? Have any of you worked as a sitter when you were young? Or when you were a teenager?
I like that question.
I was never a baby. I always wanted to be a babysitter. That was something I always wanted to do. But we lived on a farm. I'm a farm girl, and typically they'd have someone have to drive all the way out to the farm to get me. I just wasn't good.
Wow. I did it once, and I hated it. It.
Really?
It was so... Yeah, it's funny because I was so bad at it, but I did it one time, or maybe twice. I went to this one family's home, and it was this huge, beautiful house, and I had never seen a house that big in my life. And I went to the house. It was someone my mom worked with, and they had 2 little boys, and they went. I think it was New Year's Eve. They went out for New Year's Eve, and I was there with these 2 little boys, and they wouldn't go to sleep for me. They spit in my face. The one boy locked himself in the bathroom, and they were laughing at me and running around. I think I was like 14 maybe, and it was horrific for me. I was so upset. I was like in tears because I couldn't control these 2 little boys. And I thought the parents were going to come home and like scream at me that it was like 1 a.m. and the boys weren't in bed. They were running around screaming, and and they just was like, okay. Like I kind of got, now that I'm an adult, I kind of think that maybe those kids were a problem even for their parents. You know what I mean? That they couldn't get them to go to sleep at night, and it really wasn't right that I was there at 14 with these 2 kids that had no real maybe structure. But I was mortified. It was so bad with them spitting in my face, and I thought it's weird because like I had that experience, and then like all the way up until I had my own daughter, my own children, I was afraid of kids. Like holding my daughter for the first time, it was the first time I ever held a baby, and my hands were shaking, and I was so scared. And it was like I almost feel like it was like from those babysitting experiences all the way up to when I had my own kids, I was like afraid of children because of that experience of the kids like spitting in my face and everything, and I couldn't get control of them. So
and now
weird.
look at you. You're
now
a pro.
Look at me. Now I got
You're
4
a pro.
kids.
Yeah.
And they don't spit at me. Let's just put that on the record. There's no spitting at me. But I don't know. How about you guys? When was your first babysitting experience? How about you, Jacqueline? Did you ever babysit?
Well, I'm the oldest of 3 kids, so I babysat like a lot. Like that's kind of how I started out, just with my younger brother and sister. And there's a few kids in our neighborhood that I would babysit, like here and there, but like it must have went well because I have like no memory of it. I don't really remember, but I've babysat as an adult. Like I used to have a home daycare in my home up until a few months ago. So. Yeah.
Oh, wow.
That's neat.
Yeah, so I babysat lots of kids in my day as an adult.
Yeah. Is there a big age difference between you and your siblings?
Well, no. My sister and I are 18 months apart, and then my brother, there's 3 years between him and I.
All right. Okay. How about you, Diana? Were you a babysitter?
I was occasionally, and let me answer Phoebe's first question too, because she asked about in the neighborhood, and I think that works out really well because the girl that we had babysit actually used to live in our old neighborhood. She lived 2 doors down, so it was great because she could walk down and walk right back home, and it makes you that much more comfortable with it. So if you have someone, use them definitely. But I was a babysitter a little bit when I was like in high school, and I also taught dance, so I taught like the full range of like 3-year-olds to, high school age kids, and I guess that's kind of like babysitting, not really, but I was teaching them dance, and that was my main job, so that's what I preferred to do, and that's what I spent most of my time doing. But there was a couple families that I babysat for, and I had one family that would constantly like beg me to babysit and be like, no, I can't because I have to teach dance or whatnot, but they were the ones I babysat for the most when I did have time. So they had a little girl and a little boy, and I would try to clean up, like now that we are parents and now that we were answering the questions about what we expect the babysitters to do, like I would do their dishes and I would like clean the floor after the little girl would eat because she'd be a little bit messy, and I'd clean the floor up.
You're a good babysitter.
So that's probably why they begged me.
Yeah. We need our dishes done and our kids watch. Let's call Diana.
But I didn't want to like leave a huge mess for them, and the kids would go to sleep. So I thought it was tough at the time, but it was nothing traumatic like what Dana had at all. I guess I got out really lucky. Oh, goodness.
Yeah. It's a shame. If I had had a good experience, I might have done it more. Who knows? Yeah. I don't know.
I'd like give the kids a bath and everything, and now I would never have a babysitter give my kids a bath.
Wow.
Like I bathe the kids and put them in bed and clean up the house, and now I'm like, I don't even care if the toys are put away as a mom, like I don't even care. Oh, she can just come in and watch the kids, and that's good enough.
I did clean those couple times I babysat. I did always think that was something you should do as a babysitter.
Yeah, I always thought it was
the kitchen. I just thought the kitchen, you would clean up the dishes for sure in the kitchen.
Yeah, I thought we were supposed to. I don't know.
Yeah. Because like you were saying, Jacqueline, it looks kind of funny if the parents come home and you're just laying on the couch with a big, stack of dishes in the sink, I don't know. It kind of makes you feel uncomfortable. All right. Okay. So was that the last question then, Amy? And I guess what's going on Twitter? Is that all? Is there what's going on? Everybody sleeping over there?
No. They're chatting away, and I was just me and Chatty Cathy. Okay. Crystal said the going rate in her state, and she lives out west, is around $12, so it's a little bit higher out there for babysitters. And they're talking about their babysitting experiences too, but I don't think anyone has quite the experience that you had, Dan. I think you won the cake on that one. So.
Yay! Or no, wait a minute, it's not a good thing.
Yay.
Okay, well, that's Crystal from Brought to You by Mom, and she's one of our Twitter team leads. So thank you for being there and for telling us $12 an hour out there on the West Coast for
Yep.
a babysitter.
And Anne Marie from It's Just My Life CA, she also is in Canada, and she said I used to have a home daycare up until 3 years ago, and she loved it.
Okay.
So another home daycare person.
Very good. Yeah, they're in such demand, honestly. I mean, I actually have people in my office asking me when I'm done with my sister because they want to hire her. So, when you do know somebody who's reliable and mature, then, I mean, people like line up around the block, for that because it is difficult to find and, you'll be in really high demand if you're good at it and it's something you enjoy. So, my sister may not always clean up the house all the time really well, but she's so fun. All the kids all say that Aunt Lauren is the most fun, and Mommy's the one who's strict. So.
And you can trust her. I mean,
And I can trust her. She loves my kids.
She's gonna love the kids.
Yeah.
So.
Gonna have a relationship with them, our whole lives. So it's really a wonderful thing. And Lauren and I used to share a room growing up, so this seems like it's fitting that we're now sharing the caretaking of our children.
That's so cute. I love that.
Okay, and let me see. I guess I want to say hi to Avital because she's here. Avital says, "Hey girls." She's been a guest on here before with us, and also to Court and Mickey. Is that how you say that? Glad to watch this live hangout. I'm so glad I've always had family to watch my little ones. But when it comes to free babysitters, it has to be on the babysitter's terms and not yours. Or at least that has been my experience. That's true. Yep. So if they're free, maybe about cleaning up and stuff, it's whatever they choose to do. Yeah. Yeah. If your mom's watching, of course, and they're free, maybe you don't want to be like, "Hey, yo, can you do the dishes too, Mom?"
Yeah, that probably doesn't count. Yeah. I have a quick question back on the price. Do you pay more if you have more kids?
Yes.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yes, for sure. Mm-hmm.
How incremental, like per child? And it probably goes back to the whole like rate and city and all that too.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I feel like it's so hard to go over rate because it's like so personal. You know what I mean? It's sort of, and it's like your relationship with that person and what they demand. Like I've talked to some people where I work and they have like resumes from some sitters that they're considering, and they specifically say on there how much they want, and they write on there that they're what they're going to do or not do. And so it's just kind of like, it's so, you have to kind of work it out with that particular person, what seems reasonable to them, how much, how old your children are, maybe not necessarily the number of kids you have, but how intensive they are, how many are in diapers, or I just feel like all of those things play. Because if you have like, 3 kids, but not, they're all, 7 and older, and they just pretty much play with themselves, not play, they just play amongst themselves.
They entertain themselves.
Yes. You don't have to pay, that wouldn't be as much as if you have like triplets, and they're 2 years old in diapers. You know what I mean? That's seems vastly different. So, yeah.
If you have 15 kids.
Right, 15 kids. Yep, that crazy.
That's like
Catholic
2
mom.
babysitters.
How much would you charge?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. All right, you guys. I think we're going to wrap up the hangout for tonight. Thanks again, everybody who's here in the comments. And sorry if I didn't highlight your comment. And I'll try to get onto Twitter a little bit to tweet with everybody who is there tweeting. But I want to go ahead and go through, once again, give everybody a chance to give a little plug to their channel. So let's start with you, Jacqueline. Please tell everybody where we can go to find your channel. And if you're on social media, you're on Twitter or Facebook too, tell us where we can find you there.
Yes, I am on Facebook. It's Jacqueline's Mummy Moments. And I'm on Instagram and Twitter, and it's at Jacqueline Gallant. And my channel is Mummy Moments, and I do a lot of vlogging, like weekly vlogs, and I do a lot of hauls and beauty videos. So I do a little bit of everything over on my channel. You get it all.
Okay, awesome. All right, Diana, where can everybody go to find your stylish self?
You can go find my stylish self at youtube.com/beingmommywithstyle. I'm also on Facebook and Instagram, Being Mommy with Style.
Okay, awesome. All right, Amy.
I'm Dreamflight6000, and I am Dreamflight6000 on Instagram, Twitter, Pinterest, and on Facebook. I have a group called the Dream Flights.
Okay. Awesome. All right, and I am Dana Ryan, and you can find me at danaryan.tv. That's Miss Diaper D on YouTube, and also you can find me at danaryan.com and listen to me at the Diaper Dirt podcast on iTunes. So if you're listening to the YouTube Mommy Meetup podcast, we thank you guys so much for listening. And if you have a few extra minutes and you found value in this episode, we really appreciate it if you could take a few minutes to go and leave the podcast a review, because the reviews really do help us and they mean a lot. And that's it. Appreciate the Twitter team, especially to Crystal, brought to you by Mom, and also Anne-Marie from It's Just My Life CA, our Twitter team leads. But you can go and check out the entire Twitter team lead if you go to youtubemommemeetup.com/Twitter. And huge hugs to everybody here watching and in the comments. And go and find us all on Facebook in the Facebook group YouTube Mommy Meetup. And final, before we wrap it up, don't forget to go to check out the conference that's coming up in August. Amy, Diana, and I will all be in Chicago, and you can find out information about that. In August, we're going to be there August 15th, 2015, and if you go to youtubemomconference.com, you'll find the information there on how you can come and join us there in Chicago. It's going to be fun. All right, so that's it. Thank you guys again, and we'll see you in the next Hangout.